It's a revolution.
This video will be based on the book by Alfie Brown, Enjoying It, Candy Crush and Capitalism. The book is an interesting and short read, and I recommend it. Bound gives us two types of enjoyment, productive and unproductive. The first involves activities like reading critical theory, while the second involves things like playing Candy Crush. He then turns the tables by saying both of these activities are actually productive. Bound says we tend to think of games on our smartphones as silly distractions from the real stuff, but he poses that it actually gives more meaning to what we view as important tasks. He says, quote, "The distraction supplements that mundane but supposed to be serious reality from which we secretly want to be distracted, allowing us to feel what we should be doing, usually working, is truly worthwhile. For me, I sometimes procrastinate a task by mindlessly playing games until the last minute. Then a sense of urgency kicks in and I finish what I'm working on." Bound says, moments where we feel distraction now have another purpose, that of implying that there is, outside of our distraction, a coherent reality which we can and should tap back into as and when we please or feel obliged. Without the distractions, work satisfaction would massively decrease, or rather, organized dissatisfaction would likely increase, as people would be forced to increasingly confront their alienation rather than distracting themselves from it. Is the lack of revolutionary consciousness in the neoliberal era due to simple distractions like Candy Crush and Angry Birds? It's certainly possible. Bound writes, quote, "The distraction provides a falsely comforting sense that the undistracted work in reality is ordered and productive. The distraction appeals because it simulates the feeling of satisfaction when we return to work. In these smartphone games, Bound says we often feel as though time was wasted if we lost the game, but as though we were productive if we did well. The irony is that many of these games go on forever and can never be won. Many gamers feel invincible when playing, and if they lose, can simply restart." In his essay, Beyond the Pleasure Principle, Freud wrote that traumatic experiences for children are recreated in the games that they play, often taking out their pent-up frustration on their friends. Many video games have thousands of blogs and forums devoted to them, and many popular YouTube channels are people just playing and commenting on games. Bound says that gaming involves, quote, "the replacement of a real playmate with a virtual one." Universities have gotten on board with enjoyment of pop culture, offering courses such as Beyoncé Studies, Jedi Studies, Ghost Hunting, and David Beckham Studies. Enjoyment, the book states, is not just a way to discover who we are, but the enjoyment itself is constantly creating us.
Oh, God. Oh, yeah, right there. Oh, God. Oh, yes, 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 yes.
Slavoj Žižek says that the reason we enjoy certain things like the video Gangnam Style is because we enjoy a pleasure that is also disgusting to us. Bound says that with Gangnam Style, quote, "the enjoyment of the song involves the enjoyment of copying, as there were numerous replicas of the original. This fits with John Baudrillard's theory of simulacra and simulation." Slavoj Žižek says that TV shows that have audience laughter or a laugh track are doing the laughing for the audience so they don't have to. He says we are, quote, "relieved of our duty to laugh." In other words, we can be more relaxed in our enjoyment because someone is already watching and laughing for us. Bound describes violent and sexual shows like Game of Thrones as, quote, "sadistic voyeurism" concerning violence, and, quote, "a reflection of carnal desire in the ubiquitous sexuality." Jeremy Bentham believed that the purpose of law should be to be productive of happiness, attempting to reach the greatest good for the greatest number, a principle of utilitarianism, which he called the greatest happiness principle. Many prison inmates believe that their natural desire for enjoyment are being held against them. Attention deficit disorder, or ADD, has become plentiful in a society where distraction is everywhere. This could lead to what Mark Fisher calls depressive hedonia, or the inability to do anything except feel pleasure. Judge Schreiber writes, God demands a constant state of enjoyment, such as would be in keeping with the order of things. Combining religion and evolutionary psychology, we might say that following our desires for enjoyment is the natural or righteous thing to do. Jacques Lacan believed that enjoyment was pushed by the superego, and its ultimate goal was jouissance, or a type of pleasure that involves pain. The Lacanian Todd McGowan believes that our enjoyment has turned into a pathological narcissism. He says, quote, duty is transformed into duty to enjoy. Bound states, when it comes to what we enjoy, any value judgment we make is, at least usually, unconscious. In Anti-Oedipus, Deleuze and Guattari write that there is no missing object outside of us when we desire, but rather we are missing ourselves. They go on to discuss the desire delirium, a state of unchecked desire where the self is lost. Bound says that these games, quote, aim to attract us and pass our time, snatch any moments of potential boredom, or indeed reflection, leaving us in a constant state of entertainment. He writes, we can only enjoy what we enjoy, but look for the inconsistencies within and be attentive to its power over us. Understanding that our very enjoyment reinforces a system of exploitation, how can we resist? Should we deny ourselves enjoyment, or find a way to turn our enjoyment into a revolutionary act?